Hello and warm welcome to join us for this edition of AN in English News, and I'm Abdul Ahad Mohammadi. U.S. Ambassador in Kabul Thursday issued a clarification of the statement of Vice President Joe Biden, who had stated that Taliban are not the enemy of the U.S. What the Vice President said was that the Taliban is not necessarily our enemy if they lay down arms and renounce violence, break ties with Al-Qaeda, and accept Afghanistan's constitution, especially concerning women and minorities. Ambassador Ryan Crocker said in a statement, the Taliban has a choice: continue to fight or join Afghan society by accepting those conditions, the statement added. Afghanistan's leading human rights activist said that President Hamid Karzai has fired him and two others from the government's own rights commission. Nader Nadri said Friday that he and two of his colleagues have been told of the decision to replace them and that an official announcement would follow. We have heard that we are being removed, but we haven't been notified yet. He said Naderi has been critical of electoral fraud, corruption, land grabs by the wealthy, and torture and killings of civilians by the varying sides. Britain has announced an equipment package worth £400 million for its troops in Afghanistan. The equipments include protected vehicles and technology to counter improvised explosive devices. The announcement was made Thursday by Defense Secretary Philip Hammond. The improvised explosive devices were the single greatest threat to British forces in Afghanistan, Hammond said. He said improving the protection of British troops on the front line was the military's #1 priority. A total of 391 British military personnel have died in Afghanistan since 2001. Dozens of political parties launched a new coalition bloc on Thursday in Kabul, hoping to pose a stronger challenge to the government of President Hamid Karzai, which they say is corrupt and misuses funds meant to rebuild the war-torn country. The National Coalition of Afghanistan, led by Abdullah Abdullah, who was Karzai's main rival in the 2009 vote, said the government had done little to rebuild the economy, erect infrastructure, and bring people out of endemic poverty during Karzai's 10 years running the country. Pakistan on Friday rejected a U.S. probe into American airstrikes that killed 24 Pakistani soldiers, providing little sign of a swift resolution to the worst crisis in the country's fragile alliance. Pakistan's army does not agree with the findings of the U.S. NATO inquiry as being reported in the media. The inquiry report is short on facts, the military said in a statement. The inquiry, headed by a U.S. general, blamed U.S. and Pakistani forces for a series of mistakes that led to the airstrikes on November 26. A federal judge in the U.S. has signed a default judgment finding Iran, Taliban, and Al-Qaeda liable in the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. Judge George Daniels in Manhattan signed the judgment Thursday, a week after hearing testimony in the 10-year-old case. It also said Iran continued to provide material support and resources to Al-Qaeda leadership. Meanwhile, the United States offered a $10 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Izzeddin Abdel Aziz Khalil, a key Al-Qaeda fundraiser.
That apparently does look like it is in the other building at this point.
Pakistan's powerful army is fed up with President Asif Ali Zardari and wants him out of office, but through legal means, military sources said. Tensions are rising between Pakistan's civilian leaders and its generals over a memo that accused the army of plotting a coup after the U.S. raid that killed Osama bin Laden in May. Who isn't fed up with Zardari? It's not just the opposition and the men on the street, but people within the government too, said a military source. Turkish Prime Minister said on Thursday a bill passed by France's lower house of parliament making it a crime to deny genocide was racist, discriminatory, and xenophobic, and said it had opened wounds with Paris that would be difficult to heal. Erdogan said Turkey was cancelling all economic, political, and military meetings with the NATO partner France, according to media reports. On Thursday, French lawmakers easily passed a measure to make it a crime to deny the mass killing of Armenians in 1915 by Ottoman Turks amounted to genocide. And that's all for now. Thanks for being with us.